Get started on our live stream. Sorry we're a couple minutes late, folks. I'm Aaron Schatz, the editor-in-chief of Football Outsiders, and welcome to the Football Outsiders live stream for February 7th, 2022. And I am joined today by Mike Tanier, who, if you're going to call yourself that in your videos from the Senior Bowl, I'm going to start pronouncing your last name that way, because if that's how you pronounce your last name, that's how I'm going to pronounce it.
I'm going to change it next week.
Bryan Knowles is here, and JP Acosta is coming along in just a minute or two. He needed the link, but now he's got it. Hey, JP.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the live stream. Hi. So I want to thank everybody who's watching us on Twitch and YouTube, where you can make live comments and ask questions. And I want to welcome everybody who's listening afterwards on the Football Outsiders podcast network, or you're watching right now through Twitter or Facebook or the little widget in the corner of our website, wherever you are watching or listening to us. Thank you so much. And please like the show and subscribe to the show so that you get all of our shows. The schedule is going to get a little wonky now that we're getting into the off season, but there will be regular shows coming along and all kinds of football coverage in the off season. So the main thrust of today's show was going to be talking about the Super Bowl and prop bets and stuff. But before we do that, I want to ask if you guys have any opinions on, I think there have been 3 coaching hires since, one is not official yet, but 3 coaching hires since we last did a show. One is Mike McDaniel, the former San Francisco offensive coordinator in Miami. One is Doug Pederson in Jacksonville, and one is Lovie Smith, who is going to be promoted from defensive coordinator to head coach in Houston. So I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts on these coaching hires.
Well, I guess I'll start because Doug Pederson is now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and honestly, it's fine. I think he's going to be a good coach for Trevor Lawrence, will help with the quarterback development. I'm intrigued to see who he brings in on his staff. But the entire process has been the worst. It has really pulled out every single shred of apathy in me. Now I'm just thinking, man, they really fell backwards into a good hire. Surprisingly. This never happened. I'm not going to say this never happens to the Jaguars where they fall behind backwards into something, because it always happens. But this time it felt really weird because everybody knows the problem in Jacksonville, but the Jaguars refused to address the problem. They talked about it at the press conference. Trent Baalke said that he had the vote of confidence from Shad Khan and knew he wasn't going anywhere. And that I'm kind of just what's the point? You're always doing all these half measures instead of cleaning house fully. So it'll be interesting to see how Doug Pederson works with Trent Baalke. I'll be intrigued to see if they actually do bring in Rick Spielman, who's been in for interviews as kind of the GM above the GM. It's really weird. So they interviewed Spielman to be the GM above the GM because current GM is one GM that nobody likes, but the owner won't fire the GM that nobody likes. So we'll just bring in the GM that's over the GM. It feels like it's.
Well, is that the idea? If Spielman comes in, does Spielman have final say, or does Baalke have final say and Spielman is below him?
So if Spielman is brought in, Trent Baalke will go to the thing that he feels he does best: scouting and player acquisition. And that will be the thing that he focuses on, and Rick Spielman will do everything else. The latter will go Baalke, Spielman, Shad Khan, but they'll all collaborate on final say. This all just feels like a bad It feels like Game of Thrones, but it's only season 8 because everything sucked.
Spielman and Pederson is not a bad combination.
No, it really isn't. It's not. But
it's the meat in that sandwich. The meat in that sandwich is rotten. That's the problem.
Exactly. It is. It's like that episode of WandaVision where it's it was Agatha all along. It's Baalke all along. We know the problem. We've seen the problem for the past few months.
But all the stories from Baalke's Niners tenure are coming back out, like how he was on the field critiquing Jimmy Ward being in the wrong position when Baalke actually had no idea what was going on. I think 5 straight years now, when Baalke's been on a team, the coach has gotten fired. This is not exactly a long-term stability situation you got going on there. I'm with David Guard 100%. Like, I wouldn't go there either if Balky is still going to be in charge of anything. I said Byron Leftwich.
You're with who 100%?
Byron Leftwich.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I understand his feeling. He wanted a GM he felt he could work with.
This was the easiest layup the Jaguars have ever had in a coaching search.
I mean,
and they started 20 rows up into Crypto Arena.
But then they got the free throw.
They got the free throw somehow. It bounced off the back of the arena and somehow went in. They got 2 points, but the whole point behind it was completely messed up.
And the Balky skullduggery, Pederson is going to be good for that because when the going gets tough, the tough go out to dinner at 6 o'clock. And Pederson, it's gonna roll off of that duck like rainwater to a degree, and he'll keep it away from the team to a degree.
Hey man, I'm just happy Doug Pederson is an advocate for ice cream. That is a man I can get behind.
Aggressively pro ice cream.
He's also aggressively pro analytics. So at least we can get behind that. I mean, I've been talking, people have been like, what do you think of these coaching hires? And for the most part, the answer is, I don't know. Because you don't know whether coordinators have that CEO instinct in them that they need to run a team. And you don't know whether, are they on our side in the analytics? We know that Doug Pederson is on our side. So that at least is positive. Joey Suck says Trent Baalke should retire, build a time machine, and get roles as the mean principal in 80s teen movies.
I could see him in the back of the bus at the end of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like, was that Jeffrey Jones?
There's definitely an out of nowhere possibility with Jacksonville. Like, there's no question that it's possible that with a real head coach instead of the nonsense of last year, Trevor Lawrence takes a big step forward in year 2.
Look, man,
and that division is still there to be had.
All I'm asking for is just mediocrity at this point. I will take the 7 and 10. I'll take the 8 and 9 years. I just can't do any more 3 to 14.
I would think that Trevor Lawrence is, and DJ Chark back from his injury, and add some free agents.
Well, it's
7 and 10 should be pretty doable.
It's going to be definitely interesting to see what they do in the free agent market because, again, they'll have some of the most cap space in the NFL this year. But I think Andrew Norwell is going to be a free agent. Cam Robinson's a free agent. DJ Chark is a free agent.
Chark's a free agent.
Chark's a free agent. They've taken care of no business during the last year that they should have taken care of.
They didn't sign him to a contract extension last year, and then he got hurt during his contract year. I'm hoping they re-sign him, but I'm not sure at this point. AJ Cann is a free agent.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much possibly replacing like 3 out of 5 offensive linemen from last year.
Yeah.
So they got the work cut out for them. But I said last year that this was a great time to have all the opportunity in the world with the most cap space in the league and the number 1 draft pick. So I was feeling really optimistic. Then last year happened, and now we're back with the most cap space in the league and one more and the number 1 overall draft pick. So now I'm just like, whatever happens, man, I'm just gonna be along for the ride.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's still a good place because the fact is, if you redrafted not just last year's draft, but you drafted this year's draft and last year's draft, let's all be honest, Trevor Lawrence would still be the number 1 pick.
Yeah, it's just now the Jaguars have to surround him with the talent and the play calling that really will help him develop because honestly, like last year was a year 0 for him. This was the worst coaching he's had since Cartersville High School.
Yeah. What do you think about Mike McDaniel, Brian, coming out of San Francisco? He wasn't the play caller, right? It's just that he's like versed in the Shanahan system. And so the system spreads like ooze.
Exactly. I always am a little wary when you promote someone who has never called plays or been responsible for any game day actual management to a position like this. But McDaniel he's very sharp. He's very on top of things. I think cautiously optimistic would be how I would describe it. Because I think he is bringing that Shanahan system over. And I think that fits to Tagovailoa's skill set quite well. All those short crosses over the middle, all the play action, all the zone running. I think that's going to really help him. Because right now, all he can do well is the RPOs. But if you get those nice, easy throws over the middle, I think that helps build on what he does. It's going to be a lot similar to what he was running in Alabama. It's going to be very good for him. If they can get even one solid offensive lineman there to give him any time whatsoever.
Like, I don't think they're going to go to the draft to get an offensive lineman because they've been doing that for like the past 3 years and nothing has worked.
Yeah.
You just named all the groceries on the offensive line. All the Jaguars linemen, some of them are going to be in Miami, some of them are going to be in Cincinnati. All the Saints linemen that they can't afford.
Toronto Armstead, yeah.
Cincinnati.
They have the opportunity to add to that offensive line in free agency and try and get at least something there because, like you said, Brian, I think they can turn Tua into kind of a Jimmy G kind of like player because honestly, that Miami defense is good. It's going to continue to be good because they're all relatively young and they're still locked under contract. So you can't continue to waste the prime of this defense with an offense that can barely move 3 yards. So it's going to be interesting to build.
That's one thing I like about McDaniel. He said he wants to keep the defensive staff in place. That's already a very good sign that he realizes that this is working. We're going to keep that, and now we did fix all the disasters over here on offense. That's why you brought him in.
And then Lovie Smith in Houston. I mean, it's interesting. Lovie Smith. Let's start with this, which is he did a really good job with their defense, given what the talent level was.
Yeah.
Lovie Smith may be one of those guys like North Turner who maxes out at coordinator and is a really good coordinator. But as a head coach, he did lead a team to a Super Bowl. So it's not like he's a terrible head coach. It's just the roundabout way that they got to him is weird. And it makes you wonder just how long he is for the
they took the Jaguars route in hiring.
No, it's worse. This is Cal McNair running the team like his model train set, and Jack Easterby getting even more power, and just having no clue, and just fibberty gibbeting around and goofing off in this entire process, and then settling for the guy who was left. That's all this is, and it just bodes poorly for every decision they make moving forward.
And I did notice in the release that I think Ian Rappaport sent out on Twitter. It said the Texans are moving towards naming Lovie Smith their head coach for 2022.
Yes.
And like for 2022.
For 2022,
they're giving you the game. Like
they're
giving the game away. We know what's going to happen. This is another bridge towards Josh McCown. Which
if they want Josh McCown to be the head coach in the future, though, at least they should put him on the staff so that he gets some experience doing something.
You would think that would make sense, right? Like, call you coordinator this year. They won't. They might make him assistant quarterback coach or something like that. But there's no logical flow from decision A to decision B to decision C. There's none. There's no.
How many bridges are they going to have to build until they get to Josh McCown? This feels like London Bridge where they're like, it's falling down. They're going to build it back up. They're going to break it down again. And we're going to be in like 2027, and they're going to bring back Lovie Smith again.
7 Bridges Road.
Useful was first asked, can Waddle play the Deebo Samuel role in Miami? I don't think it would make sense to predict that anyone could be Deebo because the running back thing and how effective he was as a running back, I mean, it's possible there are other wide receivers who have those talents, but I wouldn't bet on it. But he absolutely can be the like high yak crosser catching the ball guy, I would think.
We are going to be hearing that this guy's the next Deebo for all this offseason. Is this draft prospect the next Deebo? Is this free agent the next Deebo? Like, no.
Slot. Every little slot, big slot, running back who can catch. The next, I can't wait for the combine. Everybody is going to go saying, I'm doing a feature on the next Deebo Samuel. I'm going to interview all the coaches and GMs. And there's going to be these guys running around getting these super generic answers. And they're going to put these features out there. And at the end of the day, Deebo's Deebo and slot receivers are useful. And there are a lot of different shapes and sizes of them. And
when it comes to Jaylen Waddle, I think they're two completely different body types and two completely different types of receivers. Like, Deebo Samuel is like huge. Like, he's not like big in height, but he's at least like 220. Like, he is a running back that plays receiver. Jaylen Waddle is a little skinnier. I think he's faster. But like you said, he can be the yak guy where they can bring him over on crossing routes, give him the ball in his hands real quick, and then he can turn something into a 10-yard, 15-yard gain. I will be intrigued to see what they do with DeVante Parker, though, because it doesn't seem like he fits that kind of offense, although they do. Tua does need
it. He's much more of a like contested catch downfield kind of guy.
Yeah.
And Mike Gesicki also might be a really weird fit in this offense because he's not a blocker.
No.
So unless they go get a blocking tight end, then what are they going to do with Gesicki?
They had Smith, I think, there as their tight end.
Durham Smythe.
Durham Smith, yeah.
Don't confuse him with Lee Smith. Lee Smith is retired.
Oh, my goodness. But
Speaking of great blocking tight ends.
I think DeVante Parker caught passes from Marino. He's been there so long. I don't know if that's somebody that they're just going to cycle through at this point and say, well, while we're here, we're going to refresh some of the roster a little bit.
I'm pretty sure he caught passes from Jay Cutler. That's how long.
That's
he did catch passes. That's not hyperbole. That I think is true, actually.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about Super Bowl 56. I wanted so first of all, we wanted Bryan on the show because he's the master of prop bets from the Scramble at the Ball prop bet extravaganza, and then JP because JP and Mike will both be covering the Super Bowl, which I wanted to actually ask you about, JP, because I think it's so amazingly awesome. Like, so what's the deal with Northwestern sending you to LA?
So every year, Northwestern Grad School does this thing called Medill Explorers, where basically for a week they go and say, hey, go and get some experience in your field. Go do. So for the sports group this year, we're going to one of two places. So one group is going to Phoenix and the other is going to Los Angeles. I'm going to Los Angeles on Thursday, and I'll be covering the Super Bowl virtually through this entire week up to Thursday. Then Friday, I'll be covering the practice and the media sessions on Friday. And then Sunday, I'll be in the press box at the Super Bowl, which is going to be really cool. It's going to be really fun. I can't wait, but it's definitely something super cool that Medill does.
Well, I think it's awesome because it gives us two people there. So make sure we want to hear from you in audibles during the Super Bowl. Make sure the two of you get together in person.
We will. We'll get a picture together, and you're going to love it. It's the strangest, hardest job you will ever love. It is. Really,
I can't wait, man. All the audibles will just be like me during the halftime. So like, oh my God, that's Kendrick Lamar. And putting out people in the press box. Like, oh my gosh, Mina Khan is right there. I'm going to go talk to her.
Well, the one thing is you'll probably be in the auxiliary press box. So some of the big names you won't see because they'll be in the regular press box. But Mike will be in the auxiliary press box too. So
yeah. Well, what happens is they take seats that would be normally seats for fans and turn them into tables. And one of these years, my cause of death will be rolling down the steps, trying to climb into it. So maybe you'll witness that this year. But there'll be chances for stargazing in the interview rooms, etc. And like during the week beforehand, you're going to absolutely love it. And there is a media party. We should try to hit that if we can on Friday. Make sure
that's where you'll get a chance to talk to some of your media idols. Absolutely,
yes.
Is that media party?
Yes,
in a way you've never seen on the plans for me and my friends. We're definitely going to try and head out there. I think it's at Universal, and I've never been in Universal Hollywood, so I'm probably just gonna be riding all the roller coasters.
Yeah, it's not an either. It's not an either or for having a cocktail riding the roller coasters. It's not an either or.
Did you have a cocktail on the roller coaster?
Ooh. I can remember in Minneapolis on the Rugrats ride in the Mall of America with a whiskey and ginger ale in my hand, and I must point out I have vertigo. So what happened next is not to be discussed, but that's the thing that happens.
This is definitely going to be different than the Super Bowl party when we were in Miami 2 years ago, which was just in kind of a like ship hangar, and we had to like climb over train tracks. Because there was a train that was stopped that blocked all of our Ubers from getting to the party. So we had to get out and climb behind the train to get to the party.
I was at that one covering it for FAU, and I think I remember like calling my friends because I saw like a wall of donuts, and I called my friend and I was like, "Yo, they got a wall of donuts here. This is sick. Like I'm never leaving."
There was a wall of donuts there. That is 100% true, and you're right. Somebody from Conrail came out and yelled at us. There were media.
Yes, they didn't want us crossing the train tracks because they were like live train tracks.
It was people were crossing between the couplings of the trains. It was. And they're like, if that train starts, you are dead. You are road pizza. And they're like, but we have to get to the open bar. That was not me speaking. That was not Aaron speaking. When somebody said that, I was thinking that, though.
Yeah, we'll let everybody else say it.
Yeah.
Common sense not super high in the media.
Let's talk some Super Bowl prop bets. I asked you guys to look up a couple of prop bets you like, but first, I've got a couple for us to all talk about, and we have graphics for these so that we can have the odds for the main people. Let's start with Super Bowl MVP, and your pick for this is sort of displays your feelings about the game as well. But we have these are the top 12 guys in Super Bowl MVP odds. And my first response upon looking at this list is Kendall Blanton?
I love your long shots.
No, I mean, but if you think about it, Kendall Blanton, like there are other players that are longer shots than, like, I'll just say right now, I can't believe that Tyler Boyd and Trey Hendrickson are longer shots than Kendall Blanton.
Agreed.
It feels like one of these things is not like the other that they do on Sesame Street. Like, hey, figure this one out.
I don't think a tight end has ever won.
No.
I don't think a tight end has ever won Super Bowl MVP.
Right. I wrote about that a couple of weeks ago. And like Gronk would have been the one a couple of years ago against the Rams. We had the great game. It's like, if you're not giving it to Gronk then, I mean, Kendall Blanton would have to have like 19 catches then, I think, to get
And also, isn't like Tyler Higbee like still on track to play?
Yes.
Yeah.
He is plus 8,000, by the way. Tyler Higbee is plus 8,000.
Okay. So that's schmuck bait. That's what you're just saying there. It's like, hey, yeah.
That's the definition of what these prop bets are. Super Bowl prop bets are schmuck bait. It's like, how big of a schmuck do you want to be? That's always your deciding factor when you start dumping money on like what kind of the Gatorade is going to be when it's dumped on someone. You realize you are the schmuck. You're doing this for fun. How much money can you afford to blow on these kind of things?
A reminder, if you're watching the show, especially if you're watching right now on Twitch or YouTube, you can give your thought in the comments as to which of these Super Bowl you think is the best odds. I mean, as far as who would you pick to actually win if the odds didn't matter, I have a feeling we're all going to say either Stafford or Burrow, depending on which team we think is more likely to win the game. But what's more fun is figuring out whose odds are the best like value.
Yeah.
I think
Chase at plus 2,000 is pretty tasty. I'm just saying that.
To me, the best value I think is pretty clearly Cooper Kupp plus 600. I mean, because Julian Edelman won the MVP a few years ago with like a 10 catch, 141 yards. That Kupp said that in both of the last 2 weeks. I could totally see that happening. Plus, it's easier for me to see that, we'll give it to Kupp and not Stafford, as opposed to let's give it to Chase and not Burrow. I think there's a bit of a narrative kind of thing that you want to give it to the young quarterback. Like, this is the future of the league here. And there's less of a push to do that with Stafford. So if you imagine the same scenario where either Kupp or Chase have those like big numbers, it's easier for me to see the voters going with Kupp over Stafford than it is for me seeing Chase over Burrow. But I would think Kupp, I would take Kupp or Chase because while the quarterbacks are most likely to win it, those odds are just so bad.
Yeah,
I kind of like the Aaron Donald plus 1,800 plus 1,000 because he's going to have
1,800 actually, so that's even better.
I kind of like the Aaron Donald odds here because whoever's playing right guard, whether it be Akeem Adeniji or Jackson Carman, they're going to end up looking like the Mr. Krabs meme, just kind of looking around all lost. Because Aaron Donald might have 9 sacks by himself in this game.
And one thing is, there have been a couple defensive winners. You go back as far as Ray Lewis. A lot of times, the defensive guy can be the proxy winner. The defense dominated. He's the star. And he gets the award. So Donald could wind up with like a sack and a half or something like that, but it's just an overall effort. And like, we'll give it to Donald because he obviously disrupted in there. So that is intriguing at plus 1,800 as well.
I will say the only 2 defensive players who won it in the last 12 years, Malcolm Smith and Von Miller. Malcolm Smith scored, Von Miller caused a fumble, which led to a touchdown. So it's been there has to be a defensive touchdown for a defensive player to win the award to a certain extent. But yeah, if Donald gets 3 or 4 sacks, I mean.
Right.
Yeah, and I think you're right. If it's just an overall Rams defensive good performance kind of wins the game, and no one player has 2 or 3 sacks, they're going to give it to Donald because the idea Donald is the dominator of that defense.
Right. Now you're right. That didn't happen with Malcolm Smith because they could have given it to all these more famous Seahawks players. But you're right. There was a straight up touchdown there. I don't know. I guess I like Chase at plus 2,000. Joey Sucks is saying Cincinnati can't win without a big game from Chase. That's right. And I don't think Cincinnati's going to win, but like in terms of a gambling situation, getting that plus 2,000 on that side, because he can win it with 1 or 2 spectacular plays.
Yeah.
Whereas you're right, Kupp gets the victory. And then it was like, he went 10-144. And so we're giving it to him. So
I could see Joe Mixon at plus 4,000 too, because sometimes when the Rams have lost, it's been because they've been beaten on the ground. So I mean, I can imagine the scenario in which Mixon gets the MVP, and those are pretty nice long odds.
Yeah, and I'd also say maybe it feels like a big T. Higgins game. Like, I know we kind of going into game strategy, but this feels like a game where T. Higgins is going to have another huge performance because Jamar Chase is going to be seeing Jalen Ramsey the entire game. So maybe if T. Higgins has the most receiving yards, catches a couple of touchdowns, I could see it. Yeah. But a plus 5,000 odds would make it very interesting.
No, it would make it. But when I get Chase at plus 2,000, I don't know if I want T at plus 5,000.
Yeah.
That's
a similar, by the way, prop bet we also have a graphic for is first touchdown scorer.
Ooh.
So hold on, we'll bring up that graphic. So these are the top 13 guys for first touchdown scorer. I'm amazed that CJ Azuma is so high, given that there's a good chance he's not going to be able to play.
Right.
Yeah, schmuckbait.
Schmuckbait, I guess.
He was speaking today. Of course, he's very eloquent, but he wasn't giving a lot of information as to what his actual availability was. There's a guy Blanton again. We can just go across the board and make a lot of Blanton bets.
My favorite on this bet, I think, as far as odds go, is Sony Michel at 1,600.
Yeah,
he does tend to be their kind of red zone, kind of power back, which is really weird considering, like, at Georgia, he was the fast-paced guy. But I do find it interesting that both Tyler Higbee and Kendall Blanton are both on here at plus 1,400 and plus 1,600. Like, those both feel like schmuck bait to me because, like, who knows if they're even going to play?
Right.
But I do think I'm leaning like the Odell Beckham plus 1,000 because once they get into the red zone, the Rams like to isolate OBJ on the one side and either give him a fade or a slant. That seems like easy money every time.
Right.
So that could be a viable option there.
Here's something I dug into some stats for the prop bet extravaganza. Cup led the league in receiving touchdowns and everything. How many times do you think did Kupp score the first touchdown for the Rams this season? They played 20 games. How many times did Kupp get the first score? What would be your guess?
3.
It's 4 times.
Oh.
So at plus 450, that's crazy. Van Jefferson also scored the first touchdown for the Rams 4 times, and he's down here at the very bottom odds here.
Oh,
I like Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson.
I like that then.
Jefferson's good for like one deep shot a game. That deep shot could very well be going into the end zone at plus 1,800. I like that as your long shot here.
By the way, you can get Cooper Kupp to score the first and second touchdown of the game at plus 2,800. So remember, of the game, back-to-back plus 2,800. I'm going to look up. I know there's one here for Chase. I'm going to see if I can find it.
I like Kupp getting the first 2 touchdowns for the Rams more than I like Kupp getting the first 2 touchdowns of the game.
No, that's really extreme, but that's plus 2,800 is not enough meat on the bone for that. I'm trying to find our guy.
No, I would need better odds on that.
Chase, it's plus 5,500. So first 2 touchdowns, Jamar Chase plus 5,500. Still just wacky doodle off the rails type of thing there, but with better odds.
And then the other prop bet that we did a graphic for, and this one will get more into how we all feel about the game, since the 3 of you will not be joining me on Thursday's preview show. We can get your thoughts about the game here, is margin of victory. The margin of victory prop, not only picking the game, but picking how much the winning team will win by. Will it be a big win or a small win? This is not picking the exact score of the game like that dude who won the freaking $500,000 or whatever from FanDuel, but picking the margin, picking both margins. So what do you guys think is the best value on the board if these are the odds for each of the margins?
In the prop bets extravaganza, I went Rams by 7-12. My usual, I've been doing this last 5 years. My usual process is find the team I'm going to pick to win and pick the smallest bracket. But I think this is a fairly big mismatch on paper, bigger than we've seen in a couple of years. So I've even tempted by Rams by 13-18. But to me, that those odds aren't quite high enough for me to go and give the extra touchdown. So I think Rams by 7-12. It's going to be a 1.5 score game. Bengals maybe get something back at the end. That's kind of what I'm feeling.
I'm with Bryan on this. I've been saying 28-17 on the radio as a number that kind of came into my head here. So that's the 7-12 for the Rams, and plus 370 is pretty good meat on the bone for that.
I'm kind of thinking LA by 1-6. I don't know. this Bengals team, like every time I've gone against them, they've wound up proving me wrong. Like I've been going back and forth between scores, and I've kind of been saying LA 28-24, which I feel like it's gonna be a close game in the end. Like I feel like there might be like a last gasp, like fourth quarter comeback attempt by the Bengals, but the Rams just have too much talent on, especially in the most critical positions of being offensive and defensive line.
See, now, interestingly, as far as odds go, as far as what I think is going to happen, I like Los Angeles by 7-12 because the number that I gave in ESPN asked all its experts for a Super Bowl pick. I gave 31-20 as my final score. So I just added on a field goal for each team to what you have, Mike.
Okay.
Cincinnati, but I think Cincinnati by 7-12 might be the best odds, with the idea that if they win, it's not necessarily going to be like by a last-minute field goal. Like they could win by a touchdown.
Right. And you get all that plus 750. Like you go against your gut instinct, but you say their scenario for winning is this sort of like meltdown by the Rams, and they win handily as a result.
Yeah. So it's interesting. All four of us are on the Rams as the favorite.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to build the Bengals argument that doesn't start with, well, Stafford throws a couple of picks just because of Stafford throwing picks. I can't construct an argument that isn't all about, well, the Rams having one of their bad games. And if that's what you're going for, then any given Sunday, I can't build both teams playing at their mean or close to their mean. This is how the Bengals win.
Yeah, it's just tough to see. Like the only way that I see like a Bengals win is, like you said, Stafford going full Stafford in this game, and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase exploding like they did in the first Chiefs game, where Jamar has like 260 receiving yards. But yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Like they're gonna need a big T. Higgins performance and possibly a big Joe Mixon before. They're gonna need their biggest games from everybody that's not Jamar Chase.
And a big Jesse Bates performance and a big
that's where I am that's where my biggest problem is. Like I'm a believer in the Bengals offense, even though they haven't been spectacular over the playoffs. But they've been better in the second half of the season than they were in the first half, and we know that they can get a lot of points.
Right.
The Bengals defense, people are talking about them like they're a great defense, and that Anarumo, who I always mispronounce his name, is a great coordinator. They were, until the playoffs, very mediocre. Yeah. Essentially, they also were really mediocre against the Raiders. They have two good games. The Bengals are coming off two good defensive games, and all of a sudden we're talking about them like they're one of the great defenses in the league. Like, did you watch the whole season?
A game and a half, one of which the Chiefs were getting to the red zone and being like, duh, against them. Where they were actively, clearly unforced errors by the
Chiefs. It's really a game and a half because it's really just the Titans game and the second half of the Chiefs game.
Right, but no, I'm experiencing what you're experiencing. So I go on the radio and it's like Bengals defense underrated, unheralded unit. Like they're not underrated by any stretch. They are at best sort of a league average unit that's playing well recently. Like there's nothing underrated about this defense.
Right. Like league average units have two good games in a row. Like that'll happen a couple times a season.
Right. The one thing that they have done well is they've adjusted to like every like game situation, because like that second half for the Chiefs, they completely adjusted their entire defense. Their Tennessee game plan was a huge adjustment from how they've normally played this season. But I don't know, man. I feel like the Rams just have too much in different places, because like the one thing that like the Chiefs didn't have was another receiver, like a wide receiver too, who could win those one-on-one battles when they double Tyreek Hill. If you double Cooper Kupp, you got to find someone who can guard OBJ. You got to find someone who's going to guard Van Jefferson. They just have too many weapons.
Yeah, I think I'm agreeing with you, because Awuzie is like definitely their best corner, and if they put him on Kupp, then whoever guards Beckham is much. Eli Apple is not going to do well against Odell Beckham. And
since when can Awuzie neutralize Kupp? I mean, we can talk seriously about Ramsey could neutralize Chase to a degree.
Right. He'll have a nice game. He could have a nice game against Kupp. But
Right, he can slow
he's not going to neutralize it. Right.
Right.
Yeah. So like they're gonna have to rotate their coverage with maybe like Von Bell and Chidobe Awuzie bracketing Cooper Kupp and kind of playing that Belichick kind of one double 10. But then you're leaving Odell Beckham one-on-one with Eli Apple, which is kind of crazy. Like the Giants, like the battle of the former Giants in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Look, man, I would not want Eli Apple on that island.
No.
Joey Sucks asks, is there a prop bet on how many teams Stafford will throw a touchdown to? I think that's just the interception prop bet.
Do we have that up? I'm sure it's going to be a 0.5. I'm going to see if I can.
Yeah, it's a 0.5. I don't know what the odds are right now on it, but it's a 0.5 over and under for both quarterbacks.
It's over is minus 155 for Stafford. So the house has the impression Stafford's going to throw a pick. It's minus 140 for Burrow. Remember Burrow? I mean, he's on a little streak now. He threw an interception in the AFC Championship game, and when it mattered, he threw a pick. So it's like both teams could very well get an interception. It's when we get into 2, 3, or 4 that I think you worry about one or the other imploding.
Yeah. So I asked you guys to pick if you had a couple of prop bets that you liked in particular. Does Bryan, do you have a couple that you in particular like?
My favorite, just from a football perspective, is kind of inbuilt parlay you can bet on. It's Will Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Odell Beckham all have over 49.5 receiving yards. That's a plus 150. I really like that because that's the kind of game I want to watch. I want to watch the game where all these wide receivers are going off simultaneously on all the passing.
Plus 160 now.
I'm getting at plus 150 at BetUS right now. So you that's nothing about bets. You can shop around because there's a lot of differences between these things at various sites and various places.
Unless you live in Massachusetts, in which case
you can still look around.
Shop around.
Yeah.
Is gambling legal in California, or do I have to place my bets before I leave?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I don't want to have to place all my bets on Thursday morning. Before
We're crowdsourcing this information, people. If you know that,
this is the sound of me asking 3 people to look something up during a podcast.
It is not yet legal in California.
I know what I'm doing in the morning on Thursday. That stinks. Okay. Wouldn't be the first time I placed a bet on Thursday morning with a Thursday podcast and paid for it on Sunday. One that was similar to that, and I don't like this bet, is Cooper Kupp and Jamar Chase 15-plus combined receptions. I don't mind that. And 80-plus receiving yards each. So Kupp and Chase combined 15, 80-plus receiving yards each. Problem is only plus 150. So I'm kind of stuck. Like, what happens if Ramsey does shut down Chase to the point where, he got 8 catches for 60 yards because he's catching comebacks?
I mean, Higgins and Boyd are good enough that it's not like Burrow has to stare down Chase all the time.
Precisely.
Like, if Chase is covered, go elsewhere.
Precisely. Same with OBJ and Van Jefferson to a degree. And if you could give me that at plus 400, I'd be talking. But at plus 150, it's a weird low action bet.
While we're sticking with the receivers, how do you like Kupp or Chase to score a 50-plus yard touchdown reception at plus 225?
I kind of like that. I love long reception props.
That kind of goes into mine because mine was LA is minus 150 and team score the longest touchdown. And the one thing the Bengals defense has not been very good at is tackling. Like once you get past that first line of defense, they don't have very many people who can tackle. So I feel like this is a kind of a coverage bust or a missed tackle away from OBJ or Cooper Kupp kind of breaking one open, and there you have it. But the Bengals also is really interesting there. They're also, I think they're plus 150 there. They're plus 125 for longest touchdown. But I like the Rams minus 150 there.
So what was it? Either team or was it Chase or Kupp have to have that long touchdown, or is it just?
So this one was team.
Yours was teams. And Bryan, yours was teams.
Mine was just Chase or Kupp.
All right, so that's a little different. So I can see the slant and go from either of those guys, but it was plus 150.
The Bengals are plus 125, and the Rams are minus 150
to have the longest touchdown in the game.
The longest touchdown.
And mine was plus 225 for either Kupp or Chase to get the 50-yarder.
So this is
that,
the big difference between Chase and Kupp. Joey Sucks points it out. Chase did have a fair amount of low yardage games during the middle of the season, whereas Kupp was like at 100 like every freaking game.
Right. Right.
My favorite yardage prop actually is just a regular player prop, but this is one that I picked for the ESPN Best Bets column. Tyler Boyd over 40.5 receiving yards. Because the Rams pass defense is weakest in the short middle.
Yeah.
Right? And who is their number one receiver as far as how often they throw to them in the short middle? It's not Azuma.
No.
It's Tyler Boyd. He's the slot guy. So I love the idea of Boyd. I love the idea that if of them trying to shut down Chase and Burrow going elsewhere, and his other receivers will be open. And I love the idea of Boyd going over 40.5 receiving yards.
I like it. I got Evan McPherson.
That's
I like Evan McPherson 50-plus yard field goal at plus 140. He's kicked a lot of 50 pluses. They opt for the field goal there. Weather should be good. Doesn't seem like he's a rookie jitters kind of rookie because he's had our big kicks already. And plus 140, that's pretty good action.
We're actually Scott Spratt and I are trying to figure out if SoFi counts as a dome or not.
Right.
Because he counts it as a dome, but for DVOA, I haven't counted it as a dome because the windows are open on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to go back and look at the first couple years and how teams have done as SoFi versus other places like on the road, and figure out whether SoFi counts as a dome or not. Because it's weird. Used to be a dome was a dome. Now you've got like Dallas where it's like a dome, but then the sides open up. And then in LA, it's always open on the sides. And it's like complicated now.
JP, when we're there, we'll check the wind. We'll get a wind report.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna go stand right in the middle of the field and just like give a wind check for you guys.
Who has another prop bet that they really like?
One I liked. It has moved then because I liked it so much, I think. When I wrote the prop extravaganza thing earlier this week, you could get over 4.5 sacks at minus 135. That has moved to over 5.5 because I believe everybody was hammering the over on that. So now it's over 5.5 sacks at minus 135. That's combined for both teams.
Ooh.
The Bengals might hit that on their own with Aaron Donald against those right guards.
I like that. Not a lot of meat on the action, but I do like it.
Yeah, I think it's a good one, but minus 135 is bad odds.
Yeah.
If it was still 4.5, then because I love that when I wrote it for the article, but everybody loved that. So that's why rather than just pumping the odds, they've just added an extra sack to it because they put the line way too low.
Now I'm trying to find prop bets for Von Miller because I feel like this is going to be another Von Miller has a propensity for doing having a vintage Von Miller the biggest moments of the season.
Von Miller total tackles and assists 4.5 over under at even money.
He's not really a tackles guy though.
He's not a tackles guy, but
yeah, over 1/2 sack. So will he get a sack? Minus 165.
First sack, Von Miller plus 400.
Yeah,
Aaron Donald plus 350. I'm just going to take Donald on that though. Why?
Donald?
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not a larger gap between the two.
Honestly, I think I would kind of take Von Miller on the first sack because the one thing that Joe Burrow has shown, when he goes to escape the pocket, if he gets interior, going to turn out to his left or turn away from his throwing shoulder. If Von Miller's on that other side, where they normally have they'll have Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd on one side and then Von on the other. If he chases him into Von Miller, I feel like that's an easy Von sack.
Can I interest you in any other Rams player besides Donald, Miller, and Floyd for the first sack at plus 1,200?
Oh, man.
Burrow wibble wobbling all over the place. He runs in, what's the young man's name? Akabon, one of those guys.
Sean Robinson.
If Floyd was not in the mix, that would be a gimme.
That'd be great if it wasn't Leonard Floyd in there.
Yeah. That's one too many guys. You're going for the Robinson and the random edge or the blitzer, and I can't do it. But plus 1,200 makes it interesting.
How about this one? Donald, Miller, and Hendrickson all to have at least one sack, plus 500.
Oh, I like that actually.
That's fun.
I like it. That's a good one, especially.
I should look for that.
The plus 500 is good on that.
Yeah. Or you can bet no at minus 1,000 if you like getting pennies. That's always an option.
The other player prop I really like, by the way, is Burrow's over on passing yards, which is, I believe, or at least last time I checked, was 273.5.
Oh yeah.
That's an easy.
So the projection from Scott Spratt is at 300 yards or a little over 300 yards because the Rams actually slightly increase opposing passing yardage this season because of the way game scripts are against them. Like, even though they're a good pass defense, because you have to pass if you're losing to them. And we all think that the Rams are going to take a lead, right? We all feel like the Rams are the better team. So the Bengals will need to pass. So Burrow going over that yardage prop seems like a good one.
I also think they're going to lean a lot into their quick game, a whole lot more this game, because the Rams play so many 5-down fronts where they'll have like Greg Gaines, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, and A'Shawn Robinson all on the field at the same time. They're only going to have one linebacker on the field. That's Troy Reader. So he's got to cover all that middle of the field area. That leaves a whole lot of quick game open. So they'll run all their stick variations. They'll run the quick game. Tyler Boyd will see a bunch of action. If CJ Uzomah is healthy, he'll see a bunch of action like in the quick game over the middle. So they might lean into that because if they're under center, they're
really hard to come back from an MCL in 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's gonna be long odds if Uzomah plays, but if anything like quick over the middle, you'll have the advantage as Troy Reader.
That's why I like the Troy. That's why I like the Boyd. I like the Boyd prop.
Right. How about this? Either Joe Burrow or Matthew Stafford to have a reception. Philly special at plus 800.
No,
not enough.
I like the ones that are over and under 2.5 players attempting a pass, but I don't like the ones asking the quarterback to catch the catch.
Yeah, I like the idea of them having an Odell Beckham pass to somebody.
Yes.
Better than the idea that
or Hecker.
Stafford will be catching the pass.
Yeah, because you have the Hecker who can throw the ball, ODJ. I might take it, though. It's plus 800. Because I'll be laughing. I will be laughing all the way to the bank then if we get like another Philly special or the Matthew Stafford Philly special is probably a sight to behold.
Is it a reception or is it a target? Because that also adjusts those odds quite a bit.
No, it's got to be reception. A target is different. You're right.
I do think there's a total combined rushing yards over under is 210.5. The under is minus 174 and the over is plus 136. I would lean under because I don't think the Bengals are going to rush for a lot of yards, but they'll run the ball a lot. And I think that is because Zach Taylor is not a good play caller, scheme caller, because the offense has become so predictable to the point.
Are we allowed to say that? I mean, one thing I feel like I've learned over the last week is you're not allowed to say that anybody that's made the Super Bowl is a bad coach.
Yeah. At things.
I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm just saying there are at least like 20 other play callers I want over Zach Taylor because their offense gets predictable to the point where, like, if they're under center, they're running the ball. If it's like, and I think the Chiefs game really, like, everybody started catching on because every first and second down, if they are under center, they are running the ball. It's going to be outside zone, and it never worked. Not until like late in the fourth quarter. So I think the attempts. If the over-under on attempts is looking pretty nice, I might take the over on attempts, but I'll go under on yards because they can't run the ball.
Quick note, by the way, Matthew Stafford has caught 2 passes in his career for minus 3 yards. I'm almost certain one of them was a ball batted back into his face.
I'm sure one of them was a ball batted back to himself.
Right, possibly both of them. So, but that's on the table. That would be you win the bet.
That would count. I just plus 800 is not good enough for me.
I do agree with Joey Sucks saying Matthew Stafford catching a pass would be the greatest thing ever because he's not graceful in his athleticism. I think that would be hilarious.
That would be the highlight. You know, when they do those like 1 second from every Super Bowl, that would be the highlight from this one. It would be Stafford going, ah!
The DYAR on the receptions where the quarterback has the ball batted back to himself are bad.
Even with the Mariota touchdown when he played.
The Mariota one is different because he got yardage on it, but usually they lose yards.
Right. It's
almost bro can kind of catch a batted pass and get a little shit.
I don't think I see Matthew Stafford doing that at all.
I can actually see Burrow grittily getting the ball back. So, I'm not putting the mortgage on this bet, but I think I'm doing it.
I think Matthew Stafford would like volleyball spike it into the ground.
I think you're right.
Just like, I don't want any part of this. Let's go to the next play.
All right. Anyone else got another good one you like?
it's a bounty of riches. Like, there's all these goofy ones that it would take me 5 minutes to explain on DraftKings. It's
Well,
like
the prop bet extravaganza, we went through all kinds of other
yes.
sports, which although some of the bets that you guys did, Brian, are like, you're not going to know the answer for like a month or two.
There's a few of them, yeah. I was a fan. It's no longer up actually now, but I was a fan of the which would be higher, Cooper Cup's receptions or gold medals won by the U.S. at the Winter Olympics. We won't know the answer for that one for a couple of weeks, but I like those kind of things because
one of the ones you did was winning time at the Kentucky Derby compared to Akers and Mixon receiving yards. You're not going to know that one till May.
It's May.
Here's the thing. You will know that one because we know what the winning time for the Kentucky Derby is going to be. It's going to be about 2 minutes. A lot of those cross-sport props are really a very fancy way of doing overs unders. We know roughly what the another one, Joe Mixon's rushing yards or John Rahm's first round score. Well, a golfer's not going to shoot 90. A golfer's not going to shoot 40. We know what these numbers are.
Right. It's only interesting if Mixon gets like 70.
Exactly.
Right. This is the year it snows at Churchill Downs.
Exactly.
And the horses run in 6 minutes.
That is why I like the Cup versus gold medals one, because both of those are nice. They're on the same scale. They're nice and chunky. That's one I find really interesting. I was going for the golds. We haven't done that well over the first couple of days. So if I had to bet it today, I'd go with Cup because we didn't win any of the snowboard cross ones.
Do they have props on the national anthem this year?
They do. It actually has gone up. When I wrote the article, the over-under was at 1:27, which is crazy for a Super Bowl national anthem. The shortest one in the 21st century, Billy Joel took 90 seconds. He took 1:30 to do it. So the over-under being at 1:27 was insane. That has bumped up, I think, to like 134, 135 now. They're expecting Mickey Guyton is the one singing. They're expecting that to go pretty quickly.
Okay, I thought it was going to be the Ramones or somebody. Like, yeah, that's going to get in and out fast.
Got to take the over on that one.
Well, see, I want to know because I want to see who was doing the national anthem, and then from there, I kind of base it on over under. Yep. I think Mickey Guyton's going to go over. Yeah, I think this is a very over kind of Super Bowl.
My favorite of the good ones.
I have no idea who Mickey Guyton is.
my favorite one of the kind of novelty ones. I usually like to bet on what song is going to be played first at halftime, because then you get to look at the set list, try to figure out what's a good opener like that.
Right.
But this year, so there's so many people performing. The bet now is which artist is actually going to perform first.
Right.
You got Mary J. Blige at plus 150. You got Kendrick Lamar at 225. You got Snoop at 325. You got Dr. Dre at 450. You got Eminem at 500. There's no way Eminem's opening a Super Bowl in Los Angeles, for God's sake. There's got to be Snoop, Dre,
this is still DRE area right here to open up.
Yeah, I think I would Snoop. But yeah, you have to get – it's in Los Angeles. That's the whole point. That's why you're doing this.
I will say it would be hilarious to open up with Lose Yourself.
Yes.
Just set the tone.
It's a good opening song. It's a good opening song, except that puts Eminem on stage first, which the NFL will be like – same with Snoop. They'll be like –
unless Eminem does Forgot About Dre first. Unless he performs with Dre for the first song, I don't see Eminem opening up. Yeah. I don't see him being an opener. I think, honestly, he'll do Forgot About Dre, he'll do Lose Himself, and then he'll just be on there, like, bobbing his head. Like, I think I'm already, like, placing bets with my mom on how many songs Mary J. Blige is going to do. Which songs.
It's a remarkable Super Bowl halftime show. Yeah. If you think about the idea that the NFL has mostly stayed away from anything controversial, there are going to be swear words.
and one controversy, will Snoop Dogg smoke on stage? Yes, plus 195.
Absolutely.
It's legal in California.
I would take that immediately.
Does he have to actually smoke something lit, or is it just a pantomime of smoking with a prop?
It does have to be lit. It does not specify what he's smoking necessarily. So if he decided to become the big old cigar, that would technically qualify for the prop. I don't think that's a high probability.
I got to see Snoop opening for Guns N' Roses at the Super Bowl 2 years ago. That's not a thing I dreamed. That's a thing that actually happened. And it was NFL sponsored. And there was wall-to-wall weed references. There was no... Like oh Snoop, you can't do that. So he had the dog out there like walking around blunted. He did all of that stuff. I know that's not going to happen at the Super Bowl, but the idea that he has like a fake giant joint and like does the motion with it, probability is pretty decent there. That the NFL is like, well, I don't know what that meant. I don't understand that reference. We're fine. It's legal here. Whatever.
Roger Goodell going to make a phone call midway through the halftime show. Shut it down.
Shut it all down.
Paul McCartney rushing in like to push people out of the way and finish.
Flying in. Paul McCartney's going to come in from the top of the dome.
Like Lady Gaga. He'll just
You're right.
swoop
Yeah.
in.
They're gonna find Bruce Springsteen, trot him out there for Born in the USA.
Oh my God.
All right, folks, I'm going to wrap up the show. Thank you so much to everybody for watching our show. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show, whether you're watching on Twitch, YouTube, wherever, Twitter, Facebook, listening to the Football Outsiders Podcast Network. Thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget about Splash Play coming up later today at 2:30, talking about fantasy for the Super Bowl DFS and stuff. Don't forget our limited time offer for FO Plus, just 99 cents per week for an annual subscription. It actually is a limited time offer. It actually ends at the Super Bowl. So like we've had it as a limited time offer for a while, but now there's actually a limit to the time. So get it now and get all of our stuff and get all of our advanced stuff and the fantasy research and the picks against the spread and everything. And thank you, Bryan. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, JP. Safe travels to both of you, Mike and JP. And I will be back on Thursday with Robert Weintraub and Scott Spratt and probably a giveaway to help you do Super Bowl home gating. So we may be giving away some food products for Super Bowl home gating on Thursday's show. So you definitely want to watch Thursday's show. That'll be 1 p.m. Eastern time, live streaming on Thursday. Until then, so long, everybody. Keep enjoying the Super Bowl preparation.